Also to thank our previous speakers. We had with us Armina Pilav and Paul Law the first week, and they spoke about building resilience under destruction. And then during the second week, we had Anna Kukic and Sabina Tanovic, and they were talking about resilience in memory. And in the third week, we were talking about resilience as culture with Azra Akshamia and Amra Haji Muhammadovic. And this week we started off with Igor Kovac, and he was talking about resilience and divisions. We have Nasiha Pozder, she's joining us live, and she also within the same topic of divisions and resilience, and her talk will be focusing on kind of urban resilience of the city of Sarajevo, and it's intended as kind of like the second side or the second coin that Igor has started already last week. And so having said all of this, just to introduce Nasiha, before I move by her former and also current students, everybody really loves Nasiha, and she has left such a great legacy in the architectural community. So whenever you mentioned her name, like everybody's face tends to light up. And so Nasiha, an assistant professor at the Faculty of Architecture in Sarajevo, and she also earned the from 2013, and she has an extensive teaching with the University of Sarajevo, so internationally. And as an academic, she has published numerous papers and books and publications, so she holds a great track record of that. But in particular, smart Sarajevo for the government of Sarajevo Canton, and she's very, very active in the political life of Bosnia and Herzegovina. So since October, she's a member of the Parliament of Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and she's the president of Committee for Physical Communal Policy, Ecology, and as well as this senior advisor on. You can see Nasiha comes with a very impressive CV and very impressive experience. And last week she joined us as the last speaker, and her lecture was great. So that was my first meeting with Nasiha. So all her previous reputation that followed her is for a reason. So Nasiha, happy that you're here with us tonight. The floor is all yours. And after the talk, we would be happy to take some questions from the audience. So I'm going to disappear for now. So Nasiha, please go ahead.
Thank you, Leila. It's a great pleasure to be here with you tonight, although I would be much happier if we are face-to-face and having a common talk in some room all together. But what can we do? It's a situation like it is. I just hope that our internet will be stable and that we'll be able to have this conversation at least in this manner. You made me cry in the moment when you said that everyone faces just a smile when they mention my name. It's not totally true. So, but okay, thank you a lot for having me tonight here with you, and I hope that we will have a great evening all together. And in the next, I don't know, 30 minutes or so, I will try to have your participants with us, and after all, I hope that we will have some kind of discussion, and I'm open for the questions and also interruption whenever participants want to interrupt me, please do. So I will now try to share my screen with you, and hopefully everything will just go slowly. Okay. Just let me know if it works.
Yes, you can see your screen now.
Okay, I will just wait for a second just to open it. Okay, do you see the first slide?
Yes.
Okay, Okay, I don't hear you very well, so I hope that it's about your internet connection and not mine. Let's hope. This is my, I don't know, fourth lecture today, so I already previously had some issues with my internet and hope that it will not be issued tonight as well. So, as I said, I'm really grateful to be here with you tonight, and I will try in the next 30 minutes or so to talk with you about the story of two cities, as Leila mentioned, about Sarajevo city layers, and to try to make extension to how spatial transformation becomes a complicit in the struggle for reconfiguration of the city's territory, boundaries, and place identity. I will talk about Sarajevo, and hopefully you will find a way to follow my speech. So for a start, I will assume that everyone who joined us tonight was not necessarily in Sarajevo earlier, so let me just make a short city tour for you who don't know Sarajevo, and with this in mind, so I will show you a map of Sarajevo from which we can see that the city is a linear city. It's located in a gorge formed by hills and mountains. I hope you can see my cursor as well. Leila, is it fine if I move?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. Okay, this is working great. Let's hope it will stay like this. So it's surrounded by the hills and by the mountains, and it's settled in the valley of river of Miljacka that flows to the Sarajevo fields, or Sarajevsko polje as we called. The genesis of development of today's Sarajevo could be clearly traced until the 90s in layers that run from east, so from this part to the west in the city Sarajevo basin. The area of Sarajevo has been inhabited and built since ancient times, and the gravity and gravitational fields have changed, but we can find the traces of these city beginnings from Neolith to Austro-Hungarian period even today, as well in the physical sense, but also in those behind or beside the physical, which are often more important in the city's outbreak. So according to this, we still can recognize two main city centers, although I just said that Sarajevo is a linear city, at least in geomorphological sense. So we can recognize the historical one, which is settled just in this red circle. And the one showed on slide is probably the most popular postcard that Google will pop on you if you search for historical part of Sarajevo. And this part of the city was formed during the Ottomans period in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And this 5-century long period will not be reviewed tonight. So this is something that I really need to emphasize on the beginning. On this slide, we can follow the second city center, the orange one. It shows the administrative and nowadays city center, which is settled in Marindvor, and followed with, again, adequate postcard as well. And to this postcard, we will come back. So the first one we can forget for now, but this one is something that we will coming back and forward during this lecture that we will have tonight. So finishing our short city tour, I'll skip to our topic that we will hopefully discuss tonight, and I will try to show you extension to how spatial transformation become complicit, as I already said, in the struggle for reconfiguration of the city's territory, boundaries, and place identity in the last 100 years. So that's why I said earlier we will not follow the traces from the Ottoman period. I will just try to scratch a little bit the surface of the last 100 years in city of Sarajevo and talk about the city development, about the border lines that were drawn, and about the resilience that city had during those past century. Being on important crossroads meant nothing else to Sarajevo than to other cities with the same destiny, that it would often be at the expense of various forces and interests, that it would often change from the ground and ultimately to divide it and to destroy it. And with this in mind, I'll take you back to establish first dividing a line in Sarajevo, the one that come with Austro-Hungarians. This period can mark as a discipline and order, since it really changed the easy-going urban atmosphere that Ottomans brought to Sarajevo and kept it for the 500 years. On this slide, you can already recognize two previously shown city centers, but I draw your attention to a blue arrow that I put in the orange circle of a new administrative city center. So you can follow this blue line, blue arrow on this slide as well, on the exact same point. And this is important so you can follow the borders that Sarajevo was developed in 1895, to year from which we have this map on the slide. This red line that I also put on the slide on this map is trying to represent the border where the previously mentioned relaxed urban atmosphere from Ottoman period and the new order and discipline architecture and the new atmosphere from the Austro-Hungarians brought to Sarajevo meet. So this borderline wasn't actually a dividing line, but also the line where two atmospheres in urban development actually meet. This is very important now to remember this special small place or this small part of the red line, since I will show you it more clearly maybe in this again postcard. In this photo, we can see the exact area that I just shown on the red line. It is Logavina Street, one of the streets in the Stari Grad of Sarajevo, in the old part of the city, where we can actually see a true urban transformation, the first big one that happened in city of Sarajevo with coming of Austro-Hungarians. So if you remember the red line going somewhere here, you can see on the right side the fragmented architecture from Ottoman period, small individual housing, which was also important to mention that during the Ottoman periods in Sarajevo, we had strictly divided functions, so you will never find business in the mahalas, in the settlements, where in the residential areas. So as I said previously, in this red line that I showed previously, we can see how this fragmented architecture just meets a new bigger scale buildings, a new mixture of functions where you can find business in ground floors and the residential or flats above it, when we can see the streets that are becoming much wider and with the first sidewalks that came to the city, and what is also very for me picturable is to see those people and the dressing that the dresses that they are wearing, the clothes that they're having. So it's again not a borderline of division, but of meeting two different atmospheres and two different periods in just one photo. We can follow it also, this kind of transformation in terms of changing not only typology, but also completely new functions and meeting the old architecture on this slide as well. So we can see also the main cathedral city of Sarajevo got also in this period. And what is also important to have in mind that this changing of urban structure, of of Sarajevo also happened on the far east of city, on the border of Sarajevo. In this period, we got a new benchmark, which even today, although completely out of scale and context in which it found itself, is one of the most important architectural monuments. So this building is a city hall building. It has a tremendous sentimental value to the citizens of Sarajevo. This building, we can also see on this slide, you can see how it just pop up on this small area with a fragmented again structure, architectural structure. And what is important to say also here is that usually, very often, Sarajevo was as an experimental proving ground for the Austro-Hungarian authorities, and thanks to that, transformation of the traffic matrix happened, and in fact that Sarajevo became one of the first European city with electric tram, which is also shown on this slide. With this, I will end my story about Austro-Hungarian urban transformation and resilience that city of Sarajevo had during this period. And I will just go to the urban push-up, as I like to call it, the period where is actually the story about the period after the Second World War. This period is marked with this purple ellipse, if you like, and it begins with the expansion of the city after the Second World War further west. So you can still follow the red line, the orange circle, and then we go much further to the west. And during this period, Sarajevo grew significantly, both administratively, but also in population-wise. This is era that we can also call a socialism, and socialism brought with it industry into the city, and also the need for new housing with recognizable architectural expression. This is not something that is not common in a region, but it's very important to mention how it just spread in city west part of the city. So settlements that were built in this period are usual subject of criticism today, but in those years they actually represented not only an architectural but also an political and social step forward. So as you can see also, they represented not only a new amount of settlements for the new citizens that were coming to the city for work mainly, but also as a new mark of the new independence that Bosnia and Herzegovina and ex-Yugoslavia, where we were part of it, had to celebrate in architectural sense as well. In this period, Sarajevo meets a first urban plan, first master plan. And again, I put another red line. This time, this red line is a border line that shows us division between the built part of the city. So this part, if you can see my cursor, and I hope you see, shows a built, already built part of the city, and the eastern and the western part, which was still waiting to be built. This was in year 1965, so Sarajevo made the first strategical document for the next 20 years, and kept in mind that it is a linear city for the first time. So as you can see, it followed with a function that had some mixture in every, more or less in every settlement. What is also important to say for this period is that it brought with it completely new functions and new dimensions of the buildings that were built. So everything just grew in some sense, not only population, not only the city, but also the buildings by itself. Also, what was very important and still is, but we forget it today, is that during the socialism, in every settlement you could find recreation and culture coming in. So those were very important elements of the new settlements that were built. And in the development of railway traffic that you can see behind this building, so this is the railway of city. The development of railway traffic and new grandiose buildings that symbolize the progress and, as I already said, ultimate independence of the state in that period. What was also very important for us in that period is that Sarajevo got its first cable car that took Sarajevo citizens out of the city to the closest mountain of Trebević. This cable car we lost during the siege that Sarajevo suffered in the 90s, and we waited for almost 20 years to get it back again, but now we have it again. So after this, as I said, urban push-up, we can talk about Olympic urban lifting, and as you can see, I'm a big fan of this makeup and beauty terms to use it in urban topics as well. What I wanted to say that Olympic Games in those years, Sarajevo actually started to emphasize or to welcome and Winter Olympic Games. This is the period in 80s, so almost the end of the 20th century, and it again spread on this time different part of the city. So as you can follow, Sarajevo linear spine in this period got an appendix of the yellow ellipse that you can see, and this area was actually built during the Winter Olympic Games. What is also probably important to say that this period was the period where citizens of Sarajevo inherited probably the most important, sorry, I'll just go back, the most important sense of proud that they are still very fond of. And I will come to that story a little bit later. So as I mentioned, this appendix actually become a new settlements for the journalists and sports teams that came to Sarajevo during the Winter Games in 80s. Also in this period, Sarajevo got a new urban plan, which today is praised by the academic community and bypassed by politics and investor. And that is something very important to mention. This plan is adopted in 1986, and it expired in 2015. And today, in 2020, Sarajevo didn't adopt a new master plan, and I will come to that at the end of this presentation. As I said earlier, Sarajevo embraced a new very important moment of pride for people of Sarajevo, and this spirit from Olympic Winter Games is even today mentioned in city of Sarajevo with the joy and pride. During this period, the city is actually being made up a new architectural seals of the city, and they were built in ecstasy, and we can already start to talk about star architect in this period. This building is one of the probably most recognizable buildings from 80s. It's a Hotel Holiday Inn, and I point you to remember this building because we will come back to it a little bit later. What is also important for this urban lifting from Olympic Games is that we finally start to use mountains in a manner of sport, in a manner of winter tourism. So for the first time, we get new functions not only in the city of Sarajevo, but also in the mountains and in the hills that surround it. We come finally to the 90s, where the city experienced the greatest, probably the greatest destruction and the first unnatural division, almost ideally drawn straight borderline, and you will see it in the next couple of slides. But during the 90s, completely new natural elements are shown on the map. So this is the map of siege of Sarajevo, and you can see only the black spots and place you should live. And it's totally lacks development and planning in this period. Although life continued, and I think that you, during the last week, during the last month, if you had the chance to listen some of the lectures at Kuma International Architectural Month, you could heard a lot about this period, so I will not go into the details. But I have to mention that once the center of city of Sarajevo in the 90s becomes a place of suffering and place of destruction, and you can remember these photos. I don't know why it's such a low resolution, but this exact spot I already shown during the socialism period and the giant buildings that were built. What is also important to mention that the settlements created during the Olympic urban lifting, that the appendix in the yellow, during the 90s were totally cut off from the city, from the spine. And during that period, not only in this area, but this is the slide that shows those buildings, but not only, as I said, in this area, all the green and recreational zones that we had become actually a source of firewood and a burial place for that. So it was the matter of how life actually continued and how city continue its resilience, although it doesn't look very resilient in this photo. This is the picture probably where you can recognize now the building that I mentioned, and I draw your attention to the Hotel of Holiday Inn. So it is just a point that I wanted to show you that destruction was tremendous even in the very, very city center. And at the end of this part, I will continue with the picture of the city zone, which from the beginning of the presentation I call nowadays city center, administrative city center, just in order to bring to you again the level of destruction in city of Sarajevo. And now I have to mention that not only physical structure was totally damaged or destroyed, as you can see also on this slide, but also completely the public transportation was destroyed, cut off. The public lighting also was destroyed. Also, we had to renew water supply system, etc., etc. So it wasn't only the period, the period that came came after the siege in Sarajevo. It wasn't only the time of functional renewal of physical structure, but also of infrastructure. If I now think about this period in 1990s, 60s, and after that, I would say that reconstruction and redeveloping the city, now divided and demolished with the wounded inhabitants, but also their homes and memories, not only their bodies, meant a lot of wisdom and knowledge. And I think that we didn't have it. When today we try to understand and to explain Sarajevo, this divided, renewed, the modern Sarajevo, we see that in the crucial period of reconstruction and redevelopment, wisdom and knowledge have been replaced by political influence and too often with the interests of individual investor, which I can understand, but it's hard to adapt. One of the earliest mistakes and missed opportunities to return to the city that something of the spirit he was proud of. So spirit from Olympic Games, spirit of its architecture, its history, of the story that it had, the first electrical tram, and etc., was made. So the earliest mistake was made again on this exact location in again the area of city center, the administrative and nowadays city center that I mentioned for a lot of times tonight. It is the location which is now not only the city center, administrative city center, but it is also a center, administrative center of Bosnia and Herzegovina in general. Following the devastation driven by urban plan, following the devastation and driven by the urban plan from 80s that I showed previously, from the era of Olympic urban lifting, in 1997, on the location that I just previously showed, an international competition was held for a new concert hall building. The jury was chaired by Zaha Hadid, and that was the let's say the starting point of enthusiasm of us as a young students. I was a student then, and architects. That enthusiasm just grew among us. The winning work involved a landscape facility that you can see. This is the winning project, the maquette of it. The winning work involved a landscape facility that provided a large park in the city center and the new cultural focal point. So this was the very important moment of probably trying to rebuild this spirit that we lost during the 19th and during the siege of Sarajevo. The project became part of city plan, but then began to shrink. And as you can see, the previously shown location was all of this. And then during the planning, it went to this location. I hope you see again this arrow that I drew. So it shrunk due to government's unwillingness to secure land purchase and the interest of land owners and also investors. So today, when we take a look on the city center of Sarajevo, the location that I just show you on the maps is here. And you can see now on this exact location is a new shopping mall. And the concert hall is still just an idea and a persistent reminder of it from several prominent citizens and a part of academic community. In one part of the location, as I already said, is a shopping center as the new monument of consumerism. And this is the postcard that you will probably find out if you Google again Sarajevo City Center. So it also says something about our spirit today. Today, Sarajevo has a tendency to trample on the natural conditions of the established form and to ignore the need to develop as a linear city in the West in order to establish a balance in the number of inhabitants and meeting their needs. So as you can see, this is the photo from a couple of years ago, but you can still follow the same traces if you again go on a Google Earth or hopefully visit Sarajevo one day soon, hopefully. At the same time, it strives for greater density of construction and the higher buildings, higher and bigger buildings. So this is also on the same, more or less, same part of the city. So this is western part of the city. And ultimately, the city is developing, neglecting the unnatural post-war divide, and such it has an inadequate infrastructure system as well as new buildings at the very borderlines as a symbol of final division that you can see here. So I just maybe had to mention that Sarajevo is now one of the most polluted cities in Europe, since it actually just forgetting and ignoring the environmental burdens which should be changed. So as I said, some in the beginning, that Sarajevo is still divided city, unfortunately. On the just behind my back, I live more or less a couple buildings to this location. This was the latest incident that happened on this borderline between Sarajevo and East Sarajevo. The borderline is actually here, and they came to an idea to build a building just to put it as a new stamp of final division of city. So having in mind that people are still living here, they don't want to see that mark of division, they made a couple of Photoshop images and said, okay, we will build a new mirror here as well, so you can watch from your window to yourself as well. And this was just an impulse from citizens, which I will use to emphasize at the end as something that I really think as most important in this moment of new resilience of city of Sarajevo, and that is a civil activism, an integral approach to planning, and the return of the profession into planning practice. I saw all of those elements as being imposed as the only and necessary solution for Sarajevo as it used to be, resilient, very spiritual, as you want to say, and a city that actually embraced nature and all the good things that could be actually used to become an European metropole again. So with this, I will finish my presentation for tonight. I thank you for your presence tonight, and if you have some question or want to emphasize something or want to discuss about anything, please do. I'm here and listening now.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nasiha, for your presentation. At this point, I would like to open up the floor to the audience. I'm sure there will be some questions. So guys, feel free to either speak up, or if you're a bit shy, you can just read it in the past. You can type in the question and I can read it for Nasiha. And we will also pay attention on Facebook to see if we have any questions from the audience. And in the meantime, while we are waiting, maybe I can start with a question for Nasiha, because I mentioned earlier you're very active kind of also in the political life of the city and of the federation as well. And we oftentimes, you know, when we're stuck, we were talking about all these discrepancies within the urban planning, within the decisions that are made, and it always somehow comes back to the issue of politics. Everyone says, well, we can't do anything about it because it's all about politics, right? And so I mean, here we are, we have an architect who's also a politician. So I wanted to ask your view on that, like how much of a role do architects today have in the decision-making process? Because I get asked that question all the time, but I think you're much more competent to answer it. And where do we stand within like political decisions and also bigger decisions that have to do with our profession, and how do we change that, and where do we even start? So that maybe that's
Yesterday or day before, I had a discussion with my students about that. We are really, as you said, used to say it's politics, it's politician, and they are the one that we should blame. But I start always from ourselves, and I asked my student 2 days ago, yeah, we spoke about the conflicts that they see in their own settlements. For example, the pavements were destroyed, or benches are, I don't know, destroyed as well. And I asked them, what did you do? Did you call an inspection? Did you try to knock on the door on your municipal office or whatever? And they said, no, they didn't. So I end up in politics being frustrated of that, just sitting and not doing anything and saying that someone else is to blame. Architects are sometimes the one that we can also blame, urban planners as well. So I will not be someone who will say that it's always just one part of the medal. I think that we all have to have our own, not only you know, I have a possibility to do that, and that is my I have a right, or whatever. You also have an obligation to do what is the best, not only for yourself, but for the community and for the society. So that's something why I actually end up in politics, and I try my best. It's not the big thing, and I still have some frustration as well, since it's very slowly going and it takes time. For the first change of one article in law of spatial planning in Canton of Sarajevo, which actually got me into politics, I waited for 7 years. So it's a long way, and you just have to, I don't know, sharp your pencil and be patient. That's all.
Yeah, thank you for that. And thank you for that answer. In the meantime, we got a question from the audience. So we have Nicola who's asking you, first of all, great lecture. Thank you so much. Love to see attention given to these important issues. Do you think this trend of consumerist herbicide will continue into the future, or will it be stopped effectively in the near future as the society gains more awareness in this trend? Thank you, Nicola. So maybe he was referring to, you know, that the shopping centers that are kind of taking prime spots of the city that weren't actually intended to be there by the urban master plan, right? So I'm sure that was what Nicola was referring to, and we see more and more of that happening.
Yes, I can understand why the question is pointed out, but I have to say that I will actually remark again that Sarajevo doesn't have a master plan for the last 5 years. We still pretend that we have the master plan from 1985, but we bypassed it every time where we don't want to go into the things that are not only in a sense of consumerism, of herbicide, of consumerism, as Nicola said. I'm not sure that it will be soon over and that it will be soon changed, but I'm really glad and happy to see that even in Sarajevo we are finding this critical mass that could actually driven intention to themselves. And the last example that I showed about the building in the borderline in Dobrinja, in borderline between Sarajevo and East Sarajevo, was again a small, but again a really huge winning of the citizens and the activists that were there, and they stopped this kind of herbicide. So I really believe that if we just start to pay attention, to speak louder and to ask for our common sense, I believe that we can change it. But as I said, it needs a lot of time and energy.
Fair enough. Yes. Thank you so much, Nasiha, for the answer. Do we have any more questions from the audience?
If I may ask a question, thank you so much for your lecture. It was very informative and very interesting. And I wanted to ask you first a little bit about if you could tell us a bit more about the BBI, or the building which replaced Robna Kuća, which is the first kind of example of urbicid, and how was that allowed to happen? The master plan still existed then, and then also if you could comment on more recent examples. So there's one building on Chobania, which is about to be completed, which is interrupting completely, encroaching, taking out too much public space and stopping the walk and obstructing the view of the river. And finally, the one which is, it's still, I think, just a proposal whereby they want to demolish the old post hotel opposite National Theatre, which I think most of us probably here signed a petition against, because it's going completely out of the proportions, and it would I think be an office building with some underground parking, so nothing, it wouldn't bring any cultural or any kind of activities beneficial to the society.
Yeah. Thank you for the questions. Nerma, if I'm right, I see your name.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your questions. First, I always try to put on my presentations the examples that I had something with it. So that's why I didn't put BBI, because I was too young then to intervene in that sense. But I do remember, since I was on the beginning of my career, let's say, and I remember that architects signed the petition even then. So it was the first petition that I can remember that we start to raise our voice. But I believe it was small or not so loud voice that we could actually raise in that period. That was the period where the, as you said, that is the first, probably the first big building that happened after the world, and a lot of politicians were involved in matter of we can't make a new industries, we can't make a new working place, but we can build you a new commercial building that you don't have. And I believe that was also the question of the moment where it was brought to the location. But as I said, I didn't have enough years or experience to be involved in that, unfortunately. If we follow that, we can go to Bosmal buildings as well as another example of the same, I would say, corruption of the plans, because you said that there was the plan during that period. And during that period, I recognized that in our spatial plan, in our law of spatial planning, we have that one article which allows them to change a small regulational plan of particular zones without the knowledge of publics, without the knowledge of even of the city council as well. So that was the moment when I joined to politics and tried to change that article and try to involve citizens in every public debate about changing the urban plans and plans that consider the build. So I think that now we have at least we have a public discussion on every urban plan. But even with that, we still face the problems, as you mentioned, the building of Pošta and the building of Chobania, building on Chobania. I had a chance to ask Mr. Nervin, I believe that's the name. He's the CEO of Institute for Cultural Heritage in Canton of Sarajevo, and I asked him how it was that he changed his sign of the paper, because first time the Institute for Cultural Heritage, they said that this building can't be demolished to be built as a new one, and then they just change it. He didn't give me the answer, but he said to me that I'm not right and that he doesn't understand why am I talking against this building. And that is the same situation that happened actually to the building of Posta. But it's still not finished, and we will fight for Posta at least, since Chobania is already built. And that's it. I don't have an exact answer how to change it. But I want to ask all of you just to be there and to raise your voice at least, and to continue with the question, signing petitions, getting on the streets. I don't know, there is no exact recipe for all of us that are not satisfied with the situation that we are living right now. I'm sorry, but there is no exact question for you, exact answer on your question.
Thank you, Nerva, for the question, and thank you, Nasiha, for the answer. We have 2 more questions, if that's okay, and then we'll wrap up the session. So Nasiha is frozen a little bit. I don't know if it's on my end or if it's on her end. I will try to read the questions, and hopefully.
I hear you, so everything is fine. Okay.
Okay, as long as you can hear us. So Azra says, thank you for this interesting lecture. I'm from Sarajevo, and tonight you taught me something new. Thank you for that. I'd like to ask, in your opinion, is there any way for us young generations to impact and influence city planning and cultural improvement?
I can just repeat. Yeah, I can just repeat. Yes, please continue with saying that you are not satisfied with the situation like it is right now. Please continue. Go on public debates. Go on the public discussions when you hear there is some even small plan on a round table or in your municipality or whenever. Try to involve your neighbors as well. Try to, as an architect, as an urban planner, as a designer, you are, in my opinion, it's not only up to you, will you do it? It's your obligation actually to come to your neighbors and to involve them to speak louder in terms of common sense.
A little bit.
I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
You are freezing up as well. I hope you can hear me.
We have a bit of
I think that,
internet connection issues.
Okay. Do you hear me?
Maybe I can jump in, because I hear everybody, and I hear Nasiha.
I hear you as well.
Yeah.
Great.
Maybe I can read you the last question. Amra Aji Muhamedovic, she was following on Facebook, so she's saying, thank you for pointing to some problems and their causes. What are the three the most appealing urban, more precisely urbanistic problems in Sarajevo today to your mind? And further on, what are the most important and realistic actions to be undertaken to mitigate the situation you have just described?
It's great to get this kind of very complicated questions and to try to give the very complicated solutions as well. It's not easy, and my professor, dear colleague and professor Amra Haji Muhamedovic, knows that as well. If I have to choose 3, the most important, I would say that, and I mentioned it in my presentation, that putting inhabitants everywhere, all around the city, no matter without thinking about the matter of position of new settlements, neglecting all the natural elements of the city, forgetting about that Sarajevo is a linear city and just spreading the inhabitants although the spine without any functions that are following it. All those issues are, I can't actually say that this is the first one, this is the second one, this is the third one. It's just the following, it's just a floating issue that is, as we could say on Bosnian, kalemese. I don't have the word on English, but it's just the problem and issue that is just going one to one. But I think that is that. And also, if you are going to talk about urban and politics, again, I would say that being the authority that actually don't have a clear mind of city, how it should look like. I think that is also the question why we don't make a new master plan for city of Sarajevo. We don't know what we want to have in city of Sarajevo. I'm not talking about the urban planners or architects. I'm talking about the authorities in canton of Sarajevo. We don't have a clear vision what Sarajevo should look like, and that is the great buffer zone in urban planning to put all those mixture of residential area whenever they never been planned before. What we can do is, as I mentioned so many times now, we have a good laws. We have to follow them. We have to stop with this corrupted system, not only in politics but also in our architectural and urbanistic practice as well. So we have to become a more I don't know how to say, more aware of city as an organism that we have to cherish and have to preserve and have to make it livable and resilient again. So there are a lot of things that we have to change, but I believe that there are still strength in citizens of Sarajevo to keep Sarajevo as it was before.
Perfect. Thank you, Nasiha. We have one more question from the audience, and then we will let you go rest. We know you had a long day today. So Fatima asks, well, she says, thank you for the lecture. I really enjoyed it. You're an architect and you're teaching young architects. Have you noticed that young students matter for urban planning? Are they aware of the problem?
I have to say that I really love and enjoyed my job at university, and this morning I started my lecture at 9, so it's almost 12 hours by sitting just on this chair, and I still have this smile on my face, and that's because of the students. I really can feel that I have a great young colleagues among them. They show a lot of interest. Finally, they show interest. I think that they show more interest that my generation showed for urban planning, and that's something that I'm really, really proud of. And I really believe that that is important moment in growing up as an architect, to start to pay attention while you are still student. And I always say to them that my biggest goal is just to have, I don't know, 2 of them in the group that will actually follow the rules, follow the law, follow the nature impacts and elements when they start to work as an architect once they finish the school. So yes, I do. I feel that they now pay attention to urban planning as well.
Thank you, Nasiha. I think this is a very nice kind of note to end your lecture, and also to end this month with this hope for the future generations to come. So we know you had a very long day. We know that there's a long day also tomorrow. And so we will thank you so much for being with us. We really enjoyed your lecture, just like we did last year, and we hope to see you again in the next editions of our architecture program. You're a lovely guest to have. So thank you so much. Also, thank you to our audience in the Zoom chat room on Facebook. Thank you everyone for following us, for being such a great support. And I will just pass on the word now to Claudia for the few kind of closing words for the entire program. So thanks everybody. That's it for me for this edition of Kuma Architecture Month, and see you all in the next editions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leila. I will be very quick. First of all, I would like to thank Nasiha for being here with us tonight. It's been really a pleasure to listen to your lecture, and I'm really happy that you decided to join Kuma again for the second time. It's been really a pleasure. And also, I would like to thank everyone who's been following us. We've been having so many people following the entire month on Zoom and on Facebook, new followers. It's been really a great adventure. And I'm really grateful to Leila for having the courage to implement the project. I remember we were talking about the architecture program for so long. We weren't sure whether the pandemic would allow us to hold it this year or not. And then we decided to go online, and it's been really, it's been scaring, I have to say, at the beginning, but very successful in the end. So I'm really grateful to Leila and all our guests. And also, of course, I would like to thank once again our donors and partners that actually allowed us to have this incredible program. And first of all, I have to say thank you, like a big thank you to the Italian ambassador in Sarajevo, Ambassador Nicola Minasi, at the Italian Embassy in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and also to Open Society Fund and all our friends at Seven Academy. Also, a big thank you to the Association of Architects in Bosnia and Herzegovina, International Birch University, BuyBook, and also, of course, Ideologia. So thank you so much, everyone. This is not the last activity that hopefully Kuma will implement by the end of the year. So we have a few more projects. We will announce them soon. So please keep on following us, and we're always at your disposal for any questions or suggestions or anything. Just feel free to reach out to us, and yeah, we will miss you. I will miss you these lectures next week, but we will come back soon. So thank you so much, really, to everyone on Zoom, on Facebook, all our friends, and Leila, of course, once again.
And big thank you to Claudia for making all this possible and for starting Kuma. So on this note, until next time, everyone.